Welcome to Mad in Love, the podcast where we get real about relationships. I'm your host, Dr. David Hawkins, founder of the Marriage Recovery Center and the Emotional Abuse Institute. Today we are back with I don't know if this is favorite. It's good. It's kind of favorite special segment called Dr. Hawkins Reacts. You see what I'm really like when I don't know if I know the answer to that. And I'm joined by my awesome producer, Katie Buckley. Yes. Hello, Katie. And incredible colleague and clinician, Jonathan Glover. He's kind of eclipsing me on the smart scale. And it's okay if y'all think that way, because I think that way. Hello, Jonathan.
Hello. Welcome. I'm excited to be back. I love these episodes.
All right. Katie, what have you got for us today from the wild and wonderful world of Disney? Oh, no, excuse me, of Reddit.
We're going to start with an airport situation. This was posted by someone called Log In Now, please.
Airports are stressful, by the way. I mean, oh my goodness, I can't, are we doing that? Because launching a boat, going to an airport, there's some places and situations that are just filled with stress. All right, well, go ahead. What's the name of this person again?
Even more stressful when you have to deplane. So this is how it goes. Everyone had to deplane from their baggage claim and make their way to the support desk. I was waiting in line for 45 minutes and was next. Then a woman cuts in front of me. I kindly tell her, "Excuse me, I was waiting in line and was next." She looks at me and goes, "Do you have kids? No? Then show some empathy." The airline rep felt bad, helped us next in parallel. My take is, if she's taken 2 seconds to ask me if she could cut, the answer is absolutely yes. I do not doubt being in a situation like that with kids is difficult. It's the entitlement that ticked me off. Do not weaponize your kids like this. Everyone has stuff going on. I'm paraphrasing. Your stuff just happens to be kids. I'm trying my best to get on the next flight out quickly to visit sick family. Everyone has their own stuff.
Yeah, I'm reminded Katie, when you say everyone's got their own stuff, there's a famous proverb that goes something like this. Jonathan, I don't know if you've heard this one, and that is, if we really took time to understand one another, there wouldn't be tension and frustration in relationships. Because everyone does have their own agenda, their own stuff going on in the background. Do you know how that saying goes, Katie or Jonathan?
I know what you're referring to. I am awful at recalling like the specifics as far as like memorizing things and passages. I'm just awful at kind of being able to quote anything or remember anybody's names. I'm awful with names.
Okay, well, that's the saying is that we. If we really took time to understand where each other's coming from, there would be much more compassion and care and kindness in the world. I'm with the woman who didn't like the other woman cutting in, and I think that's incredibly insensitive. And I agree with her. I think the other person was acting entitled, and yeah, her whole thinking. If the woman had said, "Hey, look, I'm in a tough way. I got 2 kids here. Can I please just cut in? I'm so sorry." That would have just gone a long way. And that's I'm in the airport a fair bit, and there are people that act entitled and pushy, and it just increases the tension. And I don't like it. So the woman, the cutter inner, acted entitled and insensitive, and I think she deserved to be confronted soundly.
How would you respond?
I would say, no, look, I don't appreciate this. I don't appreciate this. And maybe a little bit of coaching. If you had asked, it would go a long way. I would, of course, allow it. And I mean, go ahead and do it now. But I want you to know, I don't appreciate this. I don't appreciate it. Jonathan.
I think this is a really interesting, just kind of bubble of an example of a boundary violation, and especially the reaction to it. So obviously, I mean, there's no contest here. I absolutely agree. This is rude, and like I said, a boundary violation. The response, though, of pointing to the offender and saying, this is the reason why it happened, and I'm going to label you as entitled, and I'm going to be pointing at you as the problem. And then that's where they're writing this question from. This is where the this is where the emotion comes from, or what it seems like. I actually think that the emotion in this case doesn't come from just entitled people that exist in the world. It's that this person bumped up against this individual Loganow's sense of themselves, and the accusation was, you have no children and you have no empathy. Specifically, have a little empathy. And I think that that's really where the rub is where this person is making an accusation about Loganow that doesn't line up with their sense of who they are. And so that's why at the end of the question they say that they are traveling to be with sick family or sick relatives. I mean, they're trying to assert, like, I am an empathetic person. And here's another example. If she had asked, here's my situation, can I go in front of you? I would have said absolutely yes. But I don't actually think that the upsetting part was the entitlement. I mean, there's rude people all over the place. I think that's actually where the emotion comes from, is from, this is not who I see myself as, and this and also the shock of it, right? I mean, this kind of came out of nowhere.
I don't know if I agree with you, but it's an interesting. You always cause me to think, Jonathan. So, yeah, I think the person was rude, and
Absolutely.
Another quick tangent. You used the word boundary violation, and you and I have done previous podcasts. There actually wasn't a boundary here, because a boundary. Do we agree that a boundary is clearly defined, it's clearly articulated, and it's clearly managed? So in this case, I mean, other than maybe there was a sign saying "Don't cut in front," probably wasn't a sign saying "No cutting allowed." So, do you mean it that way? That there was I mean, there's kind of an unspoken boundary. This person cut in front in the line, but it wasn't a spoken boundary.
Yeah, I don't have to have.
Yes.
I don't agree with that. I don't have to have an established boundary with every stranger that exists in the world in order to follow through with something that is a violation of what I consider to be safe, or my sense of security. So I think my boundary of being spoken to in a particular way, or being in certain environments that call into question my safety or security, I can still respond to that and have a reaction to that. And it's my responsibility to do so. And I think that's why this person spoke up and said, hey, by the way, I'm next.
Yeah.
Are you ready for the next one?
I think we are ready for the next one.
Okay. This one is posted by someone who called themselves Stranger Old 3321. Looks like it was posted yesterday. Am I the a-hole for telling my daughter she shouldn't complain about being poor because she chose to be a teacher? My husband and I, both in our late 50s, have had 3 lovely children. James, these are fake names.
Hey, would you go back to, am I the a-hole for telling my daughter
she shouldn't complain about being poor?
Stop complaining about being poor. You made your bed, lie in it.
That's what I'm hearing so far.
Okay.
So this person or this couple.
This is a grown daughter, I take it, right? She's a teacher, so okay.
James 34, Maggie 33, June 32. My husband is a lawyer, and I have been a paralegal since my last child graduated, so we make a good living. James is also a lawyer, same firm as his dad. Maggie is now in law school after becoming a part-time paralegal while her 2 kids were young. My husband is in engineering and does quite well. I'm not trying to brag, but we all do quite well, and it is relevant to this posting. June is an elementary school teacher, and her husband manages a restaurant. They're both very hard workers, and I'm proud of June for doing well at a very hard and vastly underpaid job. However, she is always jealous and complaining about how hard she has it. She's complaining about how we have a cabin up in the UP, Upper Peninsula of Michigan, and she's got a starter home that we gave her money for. And she complained about her sister having nice clothes, her brother's house in the lake, her husband having loans for his master's, us having nice. She's listing. She constantly complains every dang time she comes over. She says things like, "Must be nice to go on vacation. Must be nice to get new furniture." Last night, she again complained that she can't afford to go up to the UP house, and it must be nice to afford gas and still be able to wear fancy clothes. I snapped. I told her her constant complaining was getting old, and we gave her the same help with her college and grad school as her siblings, and she knew when she chose her career what the salary would be. I told her I'm very proud of her, but she knew what she was getting into, and this attitude makes her family not want to be around her. She was furious and left, screaming that her siblings are the golden children and that she was just as good. I tried to tell her it wasn't true, but she wouldn't let me get a word in. She won't talk to me, but she called her sister and was quite put out by the whole thing, but on my side. So the sister's on her side. My husband, however, said I should have just let it go, and my mother is very upset and is acting like I did something terrible. Am I the a-hole? This is a touchy subject because teachers are underpaid.
You get no word in there.
I'm going to
Yeah,
put it up.
I mean, the issue here isn't about whether the daughter has the right to feel underpaid and man, and the daughter to feel envious of siblings and family, and that I don't think that's the issue. The issue that I would encourage us to be focused on, well, that's what I'm focused on, Jonathan. I want to hear your reaction, but it's how to handle the complaining person. And the daughter isn't just complaining. The daughter, which is often typical of complaints, the daughter's taking some shots here and there, like, "Oh, must be nice to this and that." And boy, you guys have it so good that you did it, and I have it so bad. And we call that a thinking error. At least I call it that. I call it a thinking error of playing the victim. And the parent is appropriately, but there's a better way to say it, take responsibility for your life, you know. But like, yeah, the phrase, "Well, you made your bed, now lie in it," that's insensitive, callous, and harsh, and adds to the problem. So
Absolutely.
go
So are
ahead,
you
John.
the a-hole? Yes, you are. And the part specifically, I absolutely agree with Dr. Hawkins here, is where you said you made your bed and now you lie in it. It's where you say you chose to be a teacher, so shut up. That's the part where you were an a-hole. Yes.
I agree completely. It is. I'm going to use the phrase "threading a needle." It is so tough. I mean, everybody has been around someone who complains a lot, and wow. I don't know that I've got that mastered about how do you confront someone? So presumably this parent is feeling offended again and again. The siblings maybe are feeling offended. I mean, everybody apparently, I'll take that literally. The family is feeling offended by her attitude. How does the family, Jonathan, I love your take. How would you say, what is the way? So we know the wrong way. Don't be an a-hole. Don't blast the person. Don't, "Oh, wow, yeah, everybody's sick and tired of your complaining." That you don't fight fire with more aggression. What do you give us the perfect
Well,
response
I actually think
to the
that
complaining?
I think that user stranger old 3321, I think that they actually did a pretty good job of outlining what the approach could have been, at least in this writing. I don't know if that was their approach, but to pull them aside, say, hey, I kind of want to talk to you about something that I've been noticing. And then she said, that here's what I've been noticing. Here's the pattern. When we're together, when we're traveling, when we're at the cabin, when we're at a dinner, you make comments about, and then and to point that out and to say, it on the receiving end of it, it is uncomfortable. It doesn't make us want to continue to engage in that conversation or to even be around that type of behavior much. So if that's going to continue, it's off-putting, and I'd appreciate it if you cut it out. But again, making it about that behavior, that dynamic, and then not to go that step further and to sort of poke.
You just did a beautiful job, and I want to highlight it for everybody. And I want you to do it again, if you don't mind, Jonathan. So, what Jonathan just did, everybody, he just did. Well, we teach nonviolent communication. Nonviolent communication has 4 principles. You're going to do them again if I on cue here, Jonathan. Nonviolent communication is about making an observation, not a judgment, not an opinion, not an attack, not I feel like you, none of that. Observation, sharing a feeling. You did a beautiful job of commenting on this, making an observation to this woman. Observation, feeling, need, and then a positive request. I didn't like your last sentence. If I'm going to be a little picky, I want you to cut it out.
Well,
you slipped off of the nonviolent communication.
I jumped off of that. I also didn't do the third step very well, identifying the need. And I actually think that is a super critical part. If your goal is to maintain a relationship,
which it is for most people.
Yeah. And it's really important to say, I'm having this conversation with you because I love spending time with you. I appreciate you as a person so much. And actually, she did this in the email too. She talked about how much she respected how hard of a worker she was, and working in a field that was difficult, and you receive little, at least financial compensation for the hard work that gets put in. And so I think that she did a good job of that. And that's really important to highlight, that if you're coming at somebody with pretty honest, direct criticism and saying, this is a thing that you're doing and here's why it's a problem, it's really important to say, this is the reason why I'm telling you this. Yeah. And it's because of this big picture, long-term goal. I value our relationship. I value you.
So now, real quickly, that was beautiful. So you do a preamble, you do a preview, a pre of I care about you. I'm coming to you because I want us to be connected in a healthy way. Now do the 4 deals. Make an observation. What observation would you give to this woman? You did it beautifully, John. Just do it again. Observation. What's the feeling? What's your need? And what's your request? Yeah. What's the pattern?
So I think saying the pattern is a lot of times when we are together, whether or not it's with us or when you're with your siblings or when it's all of us as a family, you will make comments that I don't know how to categorize it.
Yeah, you got to be careful right there.
Yeah, because you don't want to put in the part that you do ahead of time is to filter out your own thinking errors.
Yeah.
And that includes the mind reading and the labeling and things like that. So you don't want to say, you're playing the victim, you're using victim stance, even though that might be exactly what's happening.
You've got to screen out, you got to sift out all of that stuff, because everybody, if you don't, it'll break bad. And remember your point. Remember Jonathan's point. You want to create connection. You want a relationship, and you want this person's cooperation. So you make the observation.
Naming it as making comments that are comparing
There you go.
experiences, that is
Notice what
those.
he just did, everybody. It's so beautiful. So he made an observation. You didn't say, yeah, I just want to point this out to you. You just complain. Every time we get together, you're just a complainer. That's all you do. And you don't, that will break bad. All right. So your observation is when we're together, so you share the preamble. I care about you. I love you. I want a relationship with you. What I've noticed is that frequently you'll make comparisons between your life and the life of others.
Just be more aware of how often you're making those types of comments.
And is that your request? Is that your positive request? Just please be aware of how frequently you do that and cut it out.
I mean, you could make it a much more firm request. I don't want you to ever say those things again. But I think realistically, it's maybe what you're asking for is just like, can you practice some awareness, please?
And I want to remind everyone, so that was beautifully done. Will that turn the entire ship around? Probably not. Is it a beginning? Absolutely. And that's what so much of our actions, what we're all involved in. Anybody who's older than 7 years old is involved in this kind of stuff. So, Jonathan, if this young woman hears this one time, and then maybe 2 months later hears it again, and maybe 2 months later, hopefully not, but hears it, it can begin to change things. So don't underestimate the power and the potential of making changes. It won't happen in one fell swoop, but it can happen. Embedded in every situation. And I want to just remind everybody that whatever challenge you're facing, it really is an opportunity. Oh, I know you're rolling your eyes at me like, oh, really? No, it doesn't feel like an opportunity. It feels like a total hassle. It's not a total hassle. It's a hassle, but it's an opportunity to grow. So every situation you're facing, what is the challenge embedded in it? All right. That's a wrap for today's episode of Mad in Love. We hope you enjoyed our candid conversations and reactions to these stories that we heard on Reddit. Remember what I just said, relationships are a journey, and we're here to support you in every step of the way. If any of the topics we discussed resonated with you, or if you're seeking guidance in your relationship, don't hesitate to reach out to the Marriage Recovery Center or the Emotional Abuse Institute. We're here to help. You can book a free 15-minute phone consultation with one of our trained client care specialists by visiting our website, www.marriagerecoverycenter.com. And if you enjoyed today's episode, we would greatly appreciate it if you would take a moment and leave us a 5-star review and share your thoughts on the podcast. Your feedback helps us reach more listeners who may benefit from our discussions. And be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you never miss an episode, and join us as we navigate the complexities of high conflict relationships and explore paths to healing, growth, and transformative love. So your support means the world to us. Thank you for tuning in to Mad in Love. Jonathan, thank you. Katie, as always, thank you.